Well, millennials are a very hard group to reach because, there are some things which differs them to all the other targeting groups. So first of all, they are always online, but they are never available. This is one thing. Then they are digital natives, so they are very used to communicate through social media. They are used to interaction, and this is something many brands are not used to, that they have to interact with the millennials all the time, that they are used to dialogue. And also, they know every marketing trick. So it's very hard to reach them through classic advertising, and native advertising could be a good way to actually reach them. Millennials and Generation Y is the same thing, so this makes it even more difficult because you can't reach a whole generation, right? So you always have to find out whom you want to reach, actually, which is your target group. You can't reach millennials as such. You have to know whom exactly you would like to address. Like, is it, I don't know, someone in their 20s, on the countryside having 3 kids living in a house, or is it a hipster in Berlin, or is it someone from India, or I don't know, millennials is such a big group. You have to know who your millennials are and who the target group actually is you want to reach. You can't excuse that with wanting to reach a whole generation. So even I can't reach, the whole world of millennials. So firstly I tried out who our millennials at z.tt were, and I found out, which topics they like, what they stand for. I observed the editorial team a lot because they know best on how to reach millennials, not only because they are millennials themselves, but, they write content and post stuff every day. So they are the true experts for that. And also we have to observe what the users' feedback is, so we see how they respond to our topics, what they do on social media, if there's negative or positive feedback. So it's all about observing when you want to gain knowledge about who they are and what they want to read. And then you kind of find out the platform's DNA and what all they like, and then you also take a lot of data, user statistics. You also look at that and you see who is there on your platform and who is consuming your content and where. So, it's not a surprise that the where has a lot to do with social media, right? So, of course, we are analyzing, how our millennials consume the content. So, of course, firstly, we have to see what content they like and who they are, and then how they actually consume it. So, in our case, 50% is social traffic. So, they come through Facebook and through Instagram on our content. Because, nowadays they don't type in their URL anymore, they come through content directly. And 70% is mobile. So, display ads, they have no chance in the case of millennials. And then, we have to learn a lot about how the dynamics are on social media and how they consume it there and what is important when we try to reach them where they are. Right? So it's a lot to do with timing, with added value, with creativity, and as I said, with interaction. You have to go as far as to go to bed with millennials, which means they are most active right after getting up and before going to sleep. So it's a lot about the right timing. So what we did is, firstly, we implemented an early shift because we saw that, in the morning, content works much better than, any time during the day, and also in the evening. But as I said today, a combination between timing and your own brain is really the best combination, because if you have a topic like, say, club life in Berlin, and any algorithm will tell you that, most users are online on a Wednesday morning, still no one is interested in that kind of topic on a Wednesday morning, right? So it's all about timing. So you would post this type of content maybe on a Friday evening, and it has a lot more reach. But many brands say, they are just posting content anytime during the day when they have time. And this is wrong, because we have to, post it when it is relevant for the millennials, not when we have time. So this is a very important learning. It's fairly easy to say that you should create interesting content for millennials, but how do you gain this knowledge, right? So what I did when I started at z.tt, the only thing really for the first weeks was to read content the editorial team was publishing. So I read every article which is there at z.tt, every post they had written, just to get a glimpse of, you know, what interests millennials, right? Because how do you get this knowledge? You get this knowledge while reading what they read and by listening to the feedback. So in the very beginning, you know, it's not just about selling your product. It's firstly really to get an idea of whom you do that for and who is your editorial team, what does everyone stand for? Because what native truly means for me is to assimilate to the platform. So you better know your platform, right? And you can only do that while observing what everyone does there. What makes the difference in our campaign and the performances of the campaign certainly is something like A/B testing. Because we could just as well just post something and then come to the advertising agencies and say after 2 weeks, yeah, I'm sorry, it didn't work. Sorry, you know, we tried one headline and one image and it just didn't work. But this is absolutely not what we want. So we do A/B testing. So we test several headlines and several images in order to find the best combination. Sometimes it's just a word in the headline which makes a huge difference in the performance. And when we found this perfect solution, and we also have the best possible performance, and only then we are distributing it on all channels. So firstly, we publish it on z.tt, we do lots of A/B testing, and then we publish it on social media, and we already have the best solution then. But maybe it also doesn't work all the time on Facebook. Then we do another A/B testing on Facebook, you know. But you can't always be right from the start. So this testing is really a big key of success in every campaign. And also, labeling truly makes the difference for us, because we don't want to fool millennials. We don't want to just sneak in any native content, you know, and have a small gray label somewhere, you know, on the right bottom. But we have a big orange label saying, hey, that's a sponsored post. You know, just that you know, it's a sponsored post. So if this has any added value for you, you can read it, but you know that this is advertisement. Right? And we also put it again on a Facebook teaser. You know, we say sponsored post again. We don't only use the branded content function of Facebook. We put it there again. We also have an explanation kind of text on our websites, which says, you know, why we do native advertising and what it is, and that we earn money with this, you know, just to make it very transparent. Because if you want to do native advertising on a long term, you have to make the millennials or the user group understand why the hell you do it, you know, and why you're keeping the newsroom alive with what you do and why it is necessary. Because they all use ad blockers, right? They are not financing our platform with that. I mean, more than 30% use ad blockers. So, you know, we have to come up with another idea to kind of earn money for this editorial team and keep them alive. And through lots of dialogue, I think we made them understand why we do it, and we got a lot more acceptance on the way. I came up with 6 things you can learn on how to reach millennials. The first one was get to know your millennials. So as I said, you cannot reach a whole generation. You should find your target group. Find out who the millennials are you want to reach and what interests them, what values and so on there are. Yeah, the second learning was find out what works on your platform content-wise. So that means see what the editorial team writes and also how the user or the target group reacts to that, and then get your learnings from it. Just try to find out the DNA. I also said match millennials' needs with brands' goals, because that's something in the beginning I didn't do right. So that was a big learning, you know. Because, for example, if the company goal is de-acquisition, and you're writing the nicest stories you can, but you don't selling anything throughout the campaign, you know, you didn't match the needs and the goals. Then there's also what I said, you know, distribute content wisely on all channels. That means have a strategy for your social media. You cannot just make an intern sit there and, you know, be responsible for the most important channels you have, because we as millennials, we see through that and it's not working without any strategy. So every post has to have an added value. You can, do that with a good creative teaser, with the right timing, and with a lot of interaction. Everything needs community management. It's not enough to just be on social media. It's also very important what you do there, right? The other very important learning was treat millennials as equals. Don't tell them what to do. Don't tell them what to do. This is a very paradox thing because they're searching for orientation in life, but you shouldn't tell them what to do, So what you always have to do, you have to try to find a tone to give a suggestion. And then you can give them the feeling that they can choose it on their own. But you cannot say, please buy this for whatever reason or use this. That's not how it works. And this is also where this authentic is the new professional comes in. If you have an authentic story to tell, treat them as equals, tell them the story, share some experiences, and it'll work very well. And the last point was be transparent and apply a moral standard. So be transparent, that's what I meant with labeling, right? But applying a moral standard is something which is very important to me, not only in the discussion of millennials, but in the discussion in general. As someone who works in quality media, yes, but again, also for me personally, because the content which is there online, the native content, is not perfect yet. I see lots of very poor content online, to be honest, and there's still a lot of work to be done. This can't be it. We have to do better somehow. If we want to be a substitute for banner and display advertising, this is not all we got. We have to take responsibility for the content we are publishing. And for some, this sounds ridiculous, in times of programmatic where you hardly control the content anymore. But we have to create great content if we want to do this for the next couple of years and if we want to be persuasive for the target group.